Job Hunting
101.
Providing you with the tools you need in your job search.
Career fairs, resume writing, job banks, veteran programs.
Job Hunting
101.
Hello there again. My name is Dale Green, Career Counselor at Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance. We'd like to welcome you back to another in a series of programs entitled Job Hunting 101. Today we'll be talking about what kind of qualities employers are looking for in an employee. We have our guests, two guests on our program today. We'd like to start off with you, sir.
Yeah, Shannon Evans with Apex Office Products and Furniture.
Good, it's good to have you here.
Thank you. Vice President with the company and been in the industry for about 4 or 5 years. Prior to that, I was in the employment advertising industry and met with all sorts of HR directors and got a little bit of an insight from them.
Okay, and you, ma'am?
Hi, Dale. Shannon. My name is Yolanda Lavelle Williams. I work for Hillsborough Community College as the Executive Director for Economic Development. I worked for Hillsborough Community College for almost 8 years. Before that, I actually worked for Department of Defense for 15 years, where I actually helped military members transition from military to civilian sector. So I worked with a number of military individuals and employers to help them to smoothly transition into the civilian world.
Right. I wanted to start off the program by talking about work ethic, the lack thereof or the inclusion thereof. And how important is it, Yolanda, for an employee to have a good work ethic? Is that something you're born with? Is it acquired, or is it something you develop?
Having a strong willingness to work and possessing that strong willingness to work is extremely important. I think employers are looking for an individual with strong work ethic. They're willing to work late. They're willing to do whatever it is to meet that organizational's mission, which is very important.
Right. And today's society, Shannon, it's real important. It's very competitive out there, and it's important that people step up to the plate.
Absolutely. You know, what we find is, at least at my corporation, is that the individuals that do step up, oftentimes there's extra opportunities for those individuals. There's different departments and promotions within there, but it also sets the stage to differentiate that individual versus potential candidates we may consider in the future, and we try to emulate the people that have that work ethic. As far as when we're interviewing new candidates, if we have some individuals that are on board right now with us, that they're able to show that they can do that kind of work and step up, those are the individuals that we certainly will allow to have further advancement, et cetera.
I'll throw this out for either one of you to respond, not in any necessary in any order. How important is it to be consistent with a work ethic? In other words, not around supposedly evaluation time or pay raise time, or can I get off next Friday time? How important is it to be consistent with that work ethic?
I will say that it's extremely important. So when a candidate is interviewing for a job and they show that they have a history of working consistently, showing an employer that they're meeting the needs of the company, that they are displaying this strong ethic, strong ethical values as well, I think it's extremely important, and employers need that in organizations today.
Right. What about volunteer time? Well, you wanted to comment on that, how consistent one should be?
Yeah, I think for myself, I would say that the individuals that are consistent give me that peace of mind. And it's an individual that will be around for quite a while. It's individuals that I can rely on. So I mean, that's kind of those hidden qualities that we look for, that if you have those in place, you know, today's society, we take it for granted that should be in place, but oftentimes when you have a worker come in, that you can see that on a day-to-day basis. Even if I'm not telling them, thank you for being consistent, thank you for your work ethic, it is noticed.
Right. What about those people who need constant praise? In other words, you don't notice me until I mess up or until I make an error. But people have to, I guess it was a military term, I wasn't in the military, but they used to say adapt and overcome. Just make it happen, just do it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know, I think that recognition in the workplace is extremely important, and oftentimes we all want a pat on our back, but you know, you need those individuals who are self-starters. They're motivated, they have that innate experience or skill that they just want to just do the job that the employer hired them to do, which is very important.
Right. I wanted to find out about dependability and responsibility. that's sort of a cousin, if you will,
Right.
of a strong work ethic. You all seem to be alluding to things should be on automatic pilot. You should do this. In other words, as a former manager told me, that's what you're paid to do.
Thank you.
That's what you're paid to do,
Right.
to do your job. Over and above, when they say 110%, they really mean 110%, don't they?
Without a doubt.
All
Yeah.
right.
The individuals that go above and beyond, they're seen, but it is something that to what you alluded to, your previous manager that passed that information on, it is your job. But if you really want to set yourself for success, you do have to do those extras.
Right. And there are people who have needs, who want to be, well, just
Notice
you know,
me,
look at
notice-
me,
yeah.
notice me, recognize me.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people?
Well, when you mention adaptability and when you mention recognition, adaptability is change for me, and recognition is giving that person the praise that they need. But change in the workplace, and you need to be able to change more in the workplace now because of technology advancements are moving on and on and on. But employers are not giving recognition like they used to. I mean, you don't get that gold watch like you used to get in the old days anymore.
Sure.
It's just not happening. So an employer has to be able to be a self-starter, understand that I'm here to carry out the mission of this organization. I keep using the word mission, but that's really important. And I think that they just need to understand that they are hired to accomplish a task.
Right. What about friendly competition among associates?
Yeah.
How does that play into, somebody who will stand out more than another person as it relates to, somebody might say, well, you're an overachiever, you're a show-off.
Yeah.
But somebody's really trying to just do their job.
Yeah, I kind of chuckle about that because oftentimes the people that say that are the ones that oftentimes are lazy, that they don't want to step up to that level that the other one is doing on the work ethic side and doing the things to separate themselves from the pack. Having competitiveness and having that competitive nature truly is important, especially in certain industries, especially if you're in a sales role. Having that competition and wanting to be the best, not looking at how do I get myself from the bottom tier, but how do I get to myself to the top tier is vitally important. So individuals that don't want to rise to those generally don't stay at the same position, or they don't stay with the same company.
Right. One of the drawbacks in our current sometimes tentative economic climate with unemployment versus employment is that the employer will often remind the person that if you're not up to doing your job on a daily basis, on a consistent basis, I have 483 resumes right here in my bottom drawer.
Absolutely.
And how should one react? I mean, it is an employer's market now. Would you not agree?
I agree, and it was interesting you made the comment. When I worked for Department of Defense, they'll tell you everyone's replaceable. I mean, they'll tell you that. Everyone's replaceable. I mean, so, it's very important that an individual understands that the marketplace is competitive, as you indicated, that they have to stay marketable in order to show their employer that they're seeking advancements, or they just want to be productive on the job, which is very important. But I think that, just going back to your point, I think that the competitiveness, the marketingness, and on and I just screwed up.
No, that's okay. No, go ahead. I understand being competitive all the time.
Right.
That's very important. And again, as friendly competition, the employers are reminding you that they have other people that can replace you, as you said. But sometimes, and then that whole arena of complaints comes in. That seeps into the workplace sometimes. I'm working hard. I'm working harder than Joe over here, or Susie is working harder than me, and that kind of thing. It's a certain level, but again, it has to be maintained, whether somebody is selling a product or a service.
Right.
Sometimes it comes down to the culture of the company and to what the managers and senior managers, their directives are, and how they communicate with their teams. In some corporations, it may be a little bit more in your face of, hey, if you don't like it, leave. With others, it may be more constructive criticism, or it may be not just a review time, but on an ongoing basis of saying, hey, here's what these individuals are doing. Here's how you can improve yourself, and put out a plan to get you to that level.
Right. Keeping a positive attitude is tough nowadays, isn't it?
It is. It is.
How important is it to keep a positive attitude all the time? I mean, there are a lot of challenges facing employees, but then on a bottom line profit loss basis, there are a lot of challenges facing employers.
Right, right.
Positive attitude, not complaining. I always say, come to work early, stay late. I'm customer friendly. I want to help grow your business.
Right.
I'm a problem solver, and I have excellent customer service with my internal and external customers. You have to live it. Like you both said, the culture dictates that.
Absolutely. Employers are looking for problem solvers. They're not looking for chronic complainers. And so they're looking for people that if they don't like how things are, give me a better solution and show me how to make it better, not complain about the situation. So employers are looking for problem solvers in the workplace right now and not chronic complainers.
Yeah, and I would say that if I have somebody that comes to me and says, here's my challenge, here's my problem, but here's some potential solutions to those challenges, you know, those individuals get a lot farther because my time is it's spread very thin. I don't have a great deal of time to deal with individual situations when it comes to me right then and there. It may take me overnight, or I may have to think about it. So if they're able to bring those solutions to me along with their challenge, it shows me that they've thought it out. It shows me that they're more interested in creating the change or fixing the problem than just, here's my complaint. I'm a complainer to that degree.
Flexibility is another buzzword.
Oh my.
People should be flexible. If you did have plans to get off next Friday, and for some reason business needs dictated that, no, we can't afford to have you off after all, even if you purchase an airline ticket, is it more important to go to the fun event, somebody's wedding, some event like that, or is it more important to keep your job and eat the ticket, so to speak?
Well, in this economy, it's more important to keep my job, but I think that employers have opportunities to do things that can help the employee. For example, a lot of employees are working from home in many cases. So there's a lot of things that the employee can sort of communicate to their employer about ways that they can help to support them in when they need to be flexible with their schedule.
Right. How much should people brag about their, getting back a little bit to work ethic and putting all these together in their interview, that 40-second or 35-second, tell me a little bit about yourself, should you brag and talk about your work ethic?
I think you do need to, and I would say that individuals want to do interviews that can give me real examples of previous employers they've worked for, and this is how they actually can show me how the work ethic was in place and what they did to do their job and to do it well, and have that dependability, to have that adaptability, all the things we're talking about here today. It really puts them to the head pile, so to speak, and to the individuals that I'll call in for second or third interviews.
Right. Should you put that on your resume, Yolanda?
I think you should. And just going back to a point Shannon said, you know, that tell me about yourself is an important question, and you find that many employers will still use that today. And you find it's interesting, people will talk about everything else other than their skills. And they have to understand when you're in the interview, you're selling yourself to that employer. You need to come to the table with your A game saying, these are my skills that I bring to the table, and this is how I can advance that company. And oftentimes individuals want to talk about, you know, I have 3 kids, I'm married.
I like to go bowling.
I like to go bowling, I like to walk my dog. Those are not skills that you're bringing to the workplace. And so I think it's very important just to know that tell me about yourself is important because you're selling yourself to that employer at the time.
I agree with you. Yeah, and being able to, from that point, if you've done your homework before the interview and you know about the company, how you can relate that information into your conversation, right?
Absolutely. I want to know how a candidate feels that they're going to be of value to Hillsborough Community College. I mean, they're going to bring something to Hillsborough Community College, and they've assessed and evaluated and researched Hillsborough Community College, and they compared their skills to how they can be an asset to HCC.
Right. Now, some people are able to talk the talk in an interview situation, even a nice thank you letter, but here we are in a 90-day probationary period, and about day 65, they aren't able to consistently walk the walk.
Yeah.
Again, it might sound repetitive, but we have to keep it up, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say keeping your eye on the ball during the training, know your product, know your service, whatever it is that you're hired for, and make sure you become very proficient at it, and make sure that you are doing the things that you were excited when you got that first role. When you first became an employee, you were all fired up. You were really enthused about the upcoming position that you were going to be at. Don't lose that fire, because what happens is over time complacency will set in and you start to forget, yeah, I am supposed to do it that way, or you get lazy. And when you can do it on a repetitive basis, that 90-day period it's truly just a number. I'm going to be here long term, and that's how you can really set yourself apart.
Right. What about volunteerism? Should people go over and beyond the work week, the work day, and become involved by giving back to the community?
I look for a well-rounded person. The more well-rounded you are, the more that you bring that back to the table. I mean,
Right.
Table meaning the workplace. I think that an employee that values dedicating their time to nonprofits, volunteering in their churches, show a work ethic that's important, and so it does bring back to the workplace.
And for the companies that they work for, it's that brand image.
Absolutely.
So by doing those other things, not only are they helping themselves, but they're helping the company. And those are the kind of things that as a senior manager, or as an owner, anything that in the local community that you can do to improve your brand, it helps business. And at the end of the day, it's, as you mentioned earlier, the employers have that same headaches and those same stress that the job seekers may have, and sometimes even more so, because they got to make payroll, they've got to pay the overhead. And when they have individuals that are helping improve their brand image in the community, it's a win-win for everybody.
Right. I'll give the analogy of a student maybe who is being considered for a scholarship, and it's just a few tenths of a percentage points away from getting the scholarship or not getting the scholarship, and so that volunteerism comes in. That can be said, I think, for promotion, or candidates considered for a promotion. If they were well-rounded, as you said, Yolanda, and giving all that they have, and maybe even documenting that, I think that's real important.
Absolutely. I would say housewives as well. You got a housewife that's going to re-enter the job market, and they'll come in and say, well, I don't have the necessary skill sets. Well, yes, you do. What about all the volunteer work that you've done? What about the PTAs? That's work experience that you've attained.
The Little League or soccer mom is very important.
Absolutely.
Because that's a lot of juggling traffic, juggling just trying to get the kids picked up and from point A to point B.
But you need to communicate that. You can't just say I was a soccer mom. You've got to tell some of those duties that came along with it.
I think you talked about soft skills earlier.
Yeah.
Correct.
Those soft skills, what do you bring to the table? Let's talk about honesty and integrity. Again, say what you mean what you say. You can somebody can sell, and especially in your sales area, can sell a bill of goods.
Right.
But then can you deliver? What about service after the sale?
Correct. I mean, for us, the lifeblood of our business is our customers. And if we're not taking care of our customers, they become our previous customers. They go to our competitors, and we lose market share in the different markets that we're in. So for us, trust and integrity are vital. They're something that employees will be terminated if that's violated. And it could be as simple as not following through with what you've told a customer you're going to do. It's not necessarily theft or stealing things. It could be just the communication side, because there is a trust that's involved with our customers. When we've told them that we're going to do X, Y, and Z for them, we have to do it because we want to keep that long-term business to come in.
Right. Multitasking, that's a big deal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
How do you multitask? Just like that work ethic. How do you juggle? How do you wear so many hats? And yet, I mean, it's a real tough position to be in today, to be a good, honest, positive attitude, dependable, responsible employee. That's a hard act to follow, but how badly do you want to have a roof over your head? How badly do you want to drive? How badly do you want to eat?
Right.
For me, it comes into that passion of it and the commitment level you're willing to do for your paycheck. If you're looking at it as just a way to make ends meet, just going in there for your paycheck each week to pay your bills, oftentimes you're looking at other opportunities that may be out there. And as an employer, I'm not looking for somebody that's always looking for I'm a stepping stone, that they're going to look for other things. But when I see individuals that are on my team that are multitaskers, that they can handle more items than one, more duties than others, I'm careful not to overload them, but in some corporate environments, unfortunately, especially with the economy shrinking, there was more and more put on individuals. So it's a fine balance. It's a fine line that you have to have as an employee to be able to take on others, but don't take on too much. It's important, because if you take it on and you fail, it could actually look worse on you than if you didn't take it on at all.
Right. If you can juggle 3 balls, juggle them well.
Thank you.
But a 4th ball.
Yes.
and this is only a test. Yolanda, how passionate are you about the continuing education, the economic development sector at Hillsborough Community College?
Oh,
do you live and breathe it?
I live and breathe it. You know, lifelong learning is important, and continuing education in the workplace is extremely important. All of my employees, a part of their performance evaluation is professional development. I want to see them going out there learning something, because not only are they improving themselves, but they're bringing that education back to the workplace. And I think that professional development, no, I don't think, I know professional development helps an employee to feel more confident about the things that they're doing in the job. Therefore, the person will be more qualified at what they're doing. The customer will be happy, the employee will be happy, and I will be happy.
Right. So you get into the trainer mode.
You get into the trainer mode, absolutely.
Right. What about sales reps in terms of going out? Do you all have different programs?
We do.
At Apex?
Yeah, we do ongoing training, whether it be sales training, for our drivers, for our warehouse, for our management, customer service. They all have different sales training, or I'm sorry, different training that we have for each of them. Ongoing training is important to us because it's going to decrease individuals that are not fluent in certain areas. And it also helps to improve our relationships with our customer, because if they're proficient in it, customers are going to be taken care of much more efficiently than having to go back and forth, back and forth.
Shannon, I'll ask you, how passionate are you about your position? Do you look forward to coming to work every day?
Absolutely. I love what I do. You know, it starts with the company culture, it starts with ownership, but it goes throughout the whole organization. So having somebody that you're really happy to work for in a corporation that's really doing a lot in the community, doing a lot with our customers, it's very fun, and I'm passionate about what I do.
Yeah. Yolanda, you had a point to make?
Well, and a couple of things. Certainly, I want to, in terms of passion, you know, HCC, we touch a lot of lives. We put a lot of people back to work. We give them education. We have students that will go off and go to Harvard, to Ivy League schools. So HCC does make a difference in this community. In addition, on the continuing education side, we work with employers to go in and identify skill gaps in the workplace to help that employer not only to meet their initiative, but help that employee to satisfy the job or do the job that the employer hired them to do. So to me, we really help the people keep their jobs. We help employers to be more profitable at what they do, and HCC helps the community at large.
Right. Honesty and integrity. Be truthful.
Yeah.
That's real important.
Ethics.
And well, that's a good point you made. And I wanted to talk about integrity as it relates to, there are temptations out there.
Yeah.
People take shortcuts, and people are not necessarily as truthful as they should be about that. I'd like for either one of you to comment, or both of you to comment on that rather. How important is it to be honest and be in integrity?
Yeah, I think for me personally and for my team, I would say that when your behaviors that you have, that you put forth, you want to always treat them as if somebody is there. For instance, if I was there, would you do the same type of activity? And that truthfulness, that integrity that was there while I'm there, it should be there while I'm not there. You know, it's from all different. Go ahead.
Well, you have to be honest and integrity. You have to have integrity.
Correct.
And you have to be honest. And all these, you're just dying to make a statement. I'm not dying, but anxious to make a statement. Yeah.
Well, you know, trust in the workplace is important. Yes. And so not only as an employer, I have to be able to trust an employee when I delegate a duty or delegate a task. But then if I can trust that individual, I'll trust them with my customers. And my customers are most important. I mean, we have a large student body at HCC. We want to trust that the people that are touching our student body is truly making a difference. And so trust in the workplace is important. But when you use the word integrity and you use the word trust, I think of ethics. And you always want to use deal with an individual that has strong ethical values. I mean, that's an innate skill. And so that's something, if an employer can't trust you to do the job, then, you know, I don't need you technically.
I think it goes back to say what you mean what you say.
Absolutely.
Say what you mean what you say, and prove it.
Right.
And do it
on
a consistent basis every day. That's real important. And again, sometimes when people are asked to tell me a little bit about yourself, you know, there are buzzwords and then there are buzzwords. But I think you have to, you can throw those out there.
Right.
But then people can kind of tell, or people often can tell, HR directors can tell when you're faking it to make it, or when you're really have an integrity about you.
Without a doubt. Absolutely.
Yeah. Strong work ethic. These are real good kinds of things that you all are imparting here. I really appreciate that you're taking your time and telling us a little bit about what an employer is looking for in an employee. That's very important. We're going to continue and just ask you one more question before we take a break, and that is a self-starter. And when I think about self-starting, I also think about automatic pilot.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be able to do it just without being asked.
Right.
Do it that way consistently. How important is it for you to be a self-starter?
Extremely important. You know, the old Nike slogan, "Just do it," is it needs to be in place. You know, I take it for granted that my team is going to do what they were trained to do. And
Right.
that's how you have a well-running machine that's a company.
Right.
And when they're doing it well, you know, all these things we've talked about today are critical, but it starts with dependability and being that self-starter. You have to get up, you got to go to work, you got to be there on time. Being late is not a good thing. And once you're there, have it planned out what you're supposed to be doing, not socializing with your co-workers, because oftentimes that might be seen from afar and they may think you don't care about what you're doing.
Absolutely, and I think that a self-motivator for me is a self-driven individual, meaning I don't have to meet with that employee every single morning and say, this is the task I need you to accomplish today, that they understand what needs to be accomplished, they understand how to meet the mission of the organization, and they're going to be motivated to do that. Now, they can certainly seek guidance and direction from their employer, but my goal is for any employee to be self-driven and self-motivated.
Right. One of the things I've started without even knowing it around Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance, when I greet somebody, I always eventually say, handle your business. You really need to handle it. And that's a broad kind of thing, but you know, dot your I's, cross your T's,
Right.
and just make it happen. And it's all encompassing, if you will.
Right.
We're going to take a break here with our guests on this portion of Job Hunting 101, and we will continue our conversation. We'll be talking about some other things as it relates to what an employer is looking for in an employee. I hope you're taking notes. We'll be back in just a moment.
The Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance and WorkNet Pinellas offer workforce solutions designed to improve your business.
I've really valued my relationship with WorkNet Pinellas and have been instrumental in keeping us informed with new educational trends.
We've really seen our employees grow in their own personal development. It has not only exceeded Power Design's expectations, but our employees' expectations as well.
To learn more about our no-cost programs and services, visit workforcetampa.com or worknetpinellas.org.
And we'd like to welcome you back to Job Hunting 101 here, and we're talking with Shannon and Yolanda, and they have been very informative about talking about things as it relates to getting the right employee. What is an employer looking for? And I'd like to say thanks to all the people behind the scenes here at TBCN for making this happen. Everybody you see on the front end, shout outs to everybody behind the scene, the producer. Look at those credits, look at them very carefully, and there's a lot of work that goes into this. And my lead camera person here has told me about the pen, the power of the pen, and I always jeopardize that. Get your pens, asking people to get their pens so they can write and take notes. Not only take notes about what these fine individuals are saying, but also take notes, make notes, study notes, read notes, retain notes, and use stuff that you've learned from the notes, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, now with enough of that, we talked before the break about an employee being a self-starter, you know, just making it happen, being an automatic pilot. Let's talk about being motivated and to grow and learn. We talked earlier about training, ongoing training. Why should a candidate be motivated to grow and learn, not to do what they did in 2009? They should do it in the 2012 version.
Well, to start off, the software back in 2009 is not the same as the software in 2012.
I knew it was the reason I asked that question. Okay.
Totally different.
Sure.
You know, employers are looking for individuals that are willing to learn new skills, learn new techniques. They want an individual to be responsible for their own individual development plan, and that development plan is keeping them marketable in that company for advancement opportunities. but also it's giving that individual more skills and more tools in their tool belts to be more productive in the workplace.
Right. Change is constant, isn't it, Shannon?
Without a doubt.
How do you keep up with it at Apex?
Well, as an employer, you know, we have to enjoy and relish change, because with change, I mean, it's a certainty you're going to be changing, and with technology, with what Yolanda was saying, it's you have to be willing to accept it. You have to be willing to move forward with it. We've had individuals on our team that are resistant, this may sound funny, but to use emails, you know, and the individuals said, well, I haven't had to use that through my whole career. Well, you either have to do it to take care of our customers the way they need to be taken care of, or unfortunately you may not be able to work here because we have a certain level of excellence that we have to have. But yeah.
So self-confidence is also a byproduct of this, because once you're motivated to learn, it's almost like the training wheels. Okay, you can do it now. You can ride the bicycle. You can take the training wheels off. And how do you become self-confident without becoming arrogant or cocky?
I think it's demeanor. I think it's communication. It's with knowledge becomes proficiency, and with that proficiency, you feel more confident about yourself. So when you can do a job and you're on autopilot at that point, you oftentimes can look for other things that you want to have done and to be somebody that will be a star for that company.
Sure. Professionalism is also another. I mean, we're talking about a candidate who's now been hired as an associate. Now they're growing and growing and growing. And in your arena, Yolanda, professionalism sometimes means having something behind your name. I'm a certified public affairs person, or I'm a certified trained customer service specialist.
Absolutely. Having those credentials behind your name is key. Employers want to see that, when you talk about career development, they want to see that there is progression, and they want to see experts. I mean, so if you're talking about obtaining your National Retail Federation credentials, or you're talking about receiving your A+ certification in IT, or your Cisco certification, that shows me an individual that took the time to develop their skills and pass an exam that is now marketable. And oftentimes you'll find, especially in nonprofits and places like that, sometimes they're able to write grants and get funding because that individual has certain credentials. So it's extremely important in workplaces today.
Right. And I think that you're representing the nonprofit sector.
Absolutely.
You're representing the for-profit sector, but yet there is a certain level of professionalism that's really required. You have to be on the, as you say, the A game, bringing the A game in terms of marketing, sales, product knowledge, and delivering that. And that's something common to both of you.
Right. And I would say that individuals that have those, that experience, has that knowledge, has that training, I feel comfortable they're going to hit the ground running when they do start working for me. So it gives me that peace of mind, and it kind of gives them a little bit better of an opportunity to make it through the final rounds. And if everything's comparable, I'll probably move towards that individual because I have less investment in my own personal time or my manager's time to work with that individual.
Right. I saw a commercial the other day about two people in one company were checking out the competition, and they said, "Aha, I saw you over there." Company loyalty, does that exist anymore? Are you loyal to HCC?
Absolutely.
How loyal are you to HCC?
I believe in the vision of HCC, and that shows a loyal employee. I believe that the vision of our president, that shows I'm a loyal employee. Employers want to know that you are on the bus, basically. You are driving, you're moving towards that vision of that organization, and you exude the values of the organization as well.
Mission and vision. I keep hearing you say mission. The mission and vision, they go hand in hand, don't they?
Absolutely. Yeah. At Apex, the culture of the company is everything. The tenure of our employees speaks volumes about our credibility in the marketplace. And with that, we're able to then have other customers that come to us because we bought into the vision. We bought into the mission of what the company's all about. Because without a mission statement, without not just having the statement, but actually living it on a day-to-day basis, every single day, every single hour, that's what allows us to propel ourselves to be a market leader.
Right. I saw a nonprofit organization when they got together for a meeting with the case managers, they all recited the mission statement. They do it at the beginning of every meeting. Yep.
Yeah.
You see anything wrong with that?
Each company's got their own preferences.
Sure.
For me, it's
good diplomatic answer.
Yeah. For me personally, it's got to be. You have to internalize it, and
Right.
you have to be living it and doing it. You know, it's one thing to read from a mission statement or to recite it, memorize it. It's another thing to actually, after you do that, to actually do it step by step every single day.
Right. What about those people who are asked during an interview, well, why are you looking for another position? You know, you're coming into an interview situation and you just left company A. Why are you looking for another position? What's a good way to answer that?
Well, certainly not to say anything negative about the employer. That's certainly.
Don't burn any bridges?
Don't burn any bridges. Very important.
Call off the bridge.
I think it's important. I think I would answer that question if asked of me in an interview. I would say something to the effect that I've been monitoring you. You might be a competitor of my organization that I currently work for, but I believe that my assets or the skills I bring to the table are parallel with your vision of your organization. And not that I want to leave my employer, but I just think that the direction that you're going into, I would be an asset to you.
Right. What about having a competitive edge? I like what you do and I want to help grow your business. What if a potential employee said that to you?
I'd be impressed. You know, I'd ask them to elaborate a little bit. Okay. What exactly are you meaning? But at the same time, it shows to me that they have an interest in my organization, and if they can tell me exactly what that means, then it definitely sets them apart.
Right.
Well, I'll say though, if they use that buzzword, competitive edge, they need to tell me what my vision is. I mean, they just can't throw it out there for me and not tell me, because I'm going to ask that question. Then what's my vision? What are you bringing to the table that you feel like you're going to meet the needs of my organization?
Right. Product knowledge, again, whether you're selling a service or product, but really, they're really one and the same. It could be packaged as a product. It could be sometimes intangible or sometimes tangible. And I think you both represent tangible. Like I have a office product, but I have a credential. That's intangible. But nobody can take that education away from me. How important is that, to have product knowledge and again, go back to say what you mean what you say?
You want to take that, Shannon?
Sure. I mean, it's critical. You know, and when you have that knowledge, when you have that experience, it allows you to do your job well. It allows you to be at an employer long term. As you mentioned earlier, there was, many employers have tons of resumes that we can go through, but having that knowledge of the what's going on, I know that person's wrinkles. I know they're good, they're bad. I know what's going on, and it's less of a risk for me to stay with that individual than to move outside and to have replacement.
Good point. Reliability and punctuality. Now, we talked about that earlier. You said somebody should never be late. Do you think that if a new hire within a 6-month probationary period actually had a calendar and marked down every day that they were late, whether it's 30 seconds or 30 minutes, and then put the reason that they said they were late, they would maybe stop the practice if they saw it on paper?
That would be a great practice. It'd be a good theory. In reality,
don't get any ideas, folks.
Yeah, I will tell you that it's eye-opening if you would do that. And I think to your point, I think it would stop the practice very quickly of absenteeism, being late, because you got that item in front of you. You can see, but I was that late that many times. And oftentimes, if it's being recorded by an HR department, when you come to review time, sometimes it's brought up to you. You were late 25 times this year. And I was? No, I wasn't. And that side of it comes about.
And that's going back to integrity. I mean, having those business attributes that, getting to work on time, coming back from lunch on time, not using the phone for your personal calls, not surfing the internet during working hours to do shopping and those type of things. Those are integrity-related attributes. And it's important that an individual that's reporting to a workplace understand they're here to do a job. I mean, their job is not to search the internet and go shopping. Their job is to get here on time. And so if a person marks on a calendar how often they were late, that's no excuse for me, because my expectation is for you to get here on time.
Right.
And I guess the flip side of that is, right on that same calendar or another calendar, my productivity calendar, if you will. Did I get all the projects done today, this week, this month that I was supposed to?
Right.
Times are critical, and folks have to be able to. And speaking of critical times, critical thinking and learning ability, we talk about that in school for children in elementary, middle school, and high school, and even in college, they should have critical thinking skills. How important is that in the workplace? That's sort of a broad question, but how important is critical thinking, being able to make decisions? Split-second decisions, if you will.
I follow you. I think it's very important. It's if you're not a critical thinker, you're not, at least in my industry, we have to think outside of the box because we have the constant pressure of competitors trying to do all sorts of sales processes that are different than ours. And so we have to constantly reinvent ourselves. And when we're reinventing ourselves, we go back to our core practice, which is taking care of the customer better than anybody else, but you also have other things that you're adding to it. So being a individual that's thinking outside the box is very important to me because it's an individual that is more vested in the company from that mind side.
Right. Secret shoppers should, and I often go with the mantra of, well, treat everybody as if the governor sent them, the workforce board sent them, or somebody else sent them.
Right.
And if you treat them all the same, they'll say, well, that person was consistent.
Yeah.
With external customer service. How important is for internal customer service from one department or another at HCC and one part of Apex talking to another part, the supplier, the people down in the warehouse, distribution, how important is that?
Okay. Well,
flip a coin.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's extremely important.
Right.
I tell you, not only are you servicing your external customers, you're servicing your internal customers. And your internal customers could be your employer as you go through your career advancement. So it's important that you provide good customer service internally. I mean, not only I
follow you. You got to be consistent. We talked earlier about being consistent.
Right.
Dotting your I's and crossing your T's.
Right.
All the time.
Yeah.
And the picture that we're painting here today seems like it's insurmountable. It's a lot of juggling, but then you have to take those 3 balls, not the 4 balls, and go ahead and consistently keep your eye on the ball, keep your eye on the prize, and go ahead and make things happen.
Correct.
Yeah. Let's talk about benefits to an employer if a job seeker already has the training they need for the position. In other words, they bring some things to the table, but yet there's room for growth. But then what I'm getting at is we don't need a know-it-all person.
No. Yeah.
And that goes back to that attitude.
Yeah.
I know a few things, but I can learn some others, and that's why continuing education is important. Communication skills. That's the topic we want to talk about right now. How important is it to effectively communicate by verbally? People have on their resume have excellent verbal and communication skills. Yeah. But then they split verbs and they have misspellings. What about that? What's up with that?
Well, communication, when you review a resume, that's certainly the first time that a person is communicating with a potential employer. And then when that person interviews, being able to convey yourself clearly, verbally, is very important, and also in written format. One of the things that, in my role currently, I actually work with a number of businesses to help them to train their employees. And one of the things that we hear about that's a shortfall in organizations today is critical thinking skills and communication skills. This is the first time we've had 4 generations in the workplace. And so our young generational Xers and Yers, they communicate via text messages. And so now we're hearing that there's big issues with communication with emails. And so people are sending emails to employers that seem like text messages. They won't abbreviate.
The V and the 4.
LOL.
Yeah, right. Things of that nature. So you have to be cognizant of that. Employers want to make sure that you are not only communicating verbally well, but also in writing. And you do not use text message style communication when communicating with any employer or a fellow colleague in the workplace.
Yeah, the thing I like to do, I like bullets. I just like to make it pretty short, to the point, space it out, make your point, and then stop and get out of it. So people should pay attention to detail. How important is that, paying attention to detail in the workplace?
Very important. When you need to understand what your role is, depending on if it's a service or a role, for instance, at Apex, if you're one of our drivers, there's a certain way that we load the products to make sure they don't get damaged. So having that knowledge and doing it, it's critical. Right.
And attention to detail, I've dealt with you as a vendor, and to see that the product came in the order that it was supposed to, and the order is correct, and everything matches up in terms of 12 8.5 by 11 folders.
Right.
You know, those things are there.
Yeah, because the customers expect it.
Right.
And if it's wrong, if we deliver to XYZ company what ABC company was supposed to get, now we got 2 customers mad. If we start the route the wrong way, now the customer that needed it before 12 o'clock doesn't get it on time. So it's a whole supply chain, it's a whole different, it's not just the driver, it's the customer service team making sure it's keyed in correctly into the systems. So that attention to detail is critical to make the machine work properly.
Right, listening to instructions. I mean, things happen. And before I say that, I want to go back a little bit on timeliness. Some people come to an event and they say, well, or to a class like the continuing education class. And I don't know, parking was kind of tight. And I mean, this is all after the RNC has come and gone. It's not about that at all. It's just that on a clear day, way after the RNC has come and gone from Tampa, that somebody says, well, I couldn't find the place. Shouldn't people try to make a dry run before they come to one of your classes?
Absolutely. Before an interview, before anyone interviews, I would suggest that they go out to the workplace the day before. Not only just to make sure that they know how to get to that place, they also need to see the attire of that workplace, because you want to walk in dressed like the people that you're going to interview with. So you wouldn't go to a interview wearing jeans and a cutoff shirt or just a short shirt when you have people in there with suits and ties and jackets. I mean, so you really need to take a look at that. And also I would check in with the administrative personnel that's in the front desk saying, I just want to make sure that I'm in the right place. And that shows initiative, that shows interest, and that shows a desire to work at my organization.
Right. There was a television show a long time ago, and the guy had he's kind of hiding behind a newspaper, and he was looking to make sure that, he was checking the place out without being too conspicuous. And I think people have to check the place out.
Absolutely.
And make sure that happens. Becoming self-disciplined, in control, self-control, what does that mean in the workplace in terms of just, not blurting out, not being the class. I was a class clown.
Me too.
Okay, but I'm not a class clown anymore, although I try. Because I took some people on a tour the other day and I used some of my dry jokes and it went right over everybody's head and they were extremely dry and they said, you need to get some new material.
You were a sit-down comedian that day.
Right. So that's really important. Exceeding expectations. We talk about the 110% or 105%. And you said out of the box earlier. What about what's wrong with 125%?
Yeah, there's individuals, especially in the sales role. In a sales role, you can certainly separate yourself. We have everybody sees it's transparency. Everybody sees everybody's numbers, and they have a budget. So they know where they're sitting at any given time. So you have that competitiveness that's in there already.
Sure, I understand exactly what you're saying. Exceeding expectations, going over and beyond.
Correct.
Beyond the interview, how can job seekers show employers that they have what it takes to be part of their culture? What would you say to that?
Well, I would say certainly exceeding expectation, as you indicated, going above and beyond shows not only the employer that you're willing to do the job, but it shows the customer that you're willing to do the job. That shows that you care. I mean, so if, for example, at times when I'm leaving the office at night and I may have a parent come in and their parent is lost and they're looking for a classroom or they're looking for something, I'm not going to go in say it's 5 o'clock and I need to walk out the door because it's 5 o'clock. My job is to service that parent regardless of what time it is. So it's an individual that's willing to get the job done, meet the needs of the organization, and just go above and beyond, speaks volume to that employer.
Right. We talked about some soft skills, but I want to talk about some miscellaneous things, if you will, and that would be the cell phone message. Yeah. If an employer is looking for an employee and they leave a message and it says, hi, you've reached Dale Green, I'm not available, please leave a message and I'll call you back. Is that okay? Is that what we should, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
But all this music and gibberish and all these cute sayings and these funny ringtones, that's not acceptable, is it not?
It's not acceptable, and also you have to think about your email address as well on your resume. You know, if you have an email address that speaks questionable to your character, you know, employers are turned off from that. In fact, I won't even email you if you have an email address like that. Yeah. Social media is huge right now. People will Google you and see what you have on your LinkedIn, your Facebook account, whatever they can get into. So keep in mind that social media is an important part to that. So not only the cell phone, I mean, we got a whole bunch of other technology going on that could impact that individual.
Right. Also, well, the email address, again, we talked about character, and that says what kind of character you are.
It does.
If you have different kind of salacious or risque kinds of things on Facebook. And again, it gets back to that person who is in school trying to get the scholarship and they're 1/10% of the way.
Yeah.
And it's either make or break time.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we talk about what an employer is looking for, we also, I think, have to look at what an employer is not looking for.
Absolutely.
So you're looking for somebody who has integrity,
Right.
has character, and professionalism. And again, not only during the 90-day probation period or the 6-month, but even beyond. They should live it and breathe it every day. And that's what you meant by culture.
Absolutely. And one of the other things is that experience is important, but I'm also looking for a person that's a good cultural fit. I mean, I can train an individual on certain skill sets that they need, but if that person has to work with their teammates,
Without a
which
doubt.
is very important, because if you get someone in there that's sort of a cancer to your organization, they have torn down everything that you built. So having a good fit for your organization as well as good experience is very key. And that person that's interviewing for that job needs to communicate that to that employer.
Right.
Right.
Some organizations, once their associates make the probation period, or somebody's been there 2 years, somebody's been there 22 years, they sort of get comfortable and relaxed.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably a little too comfortable.
Very much so.
And they'll turn on their radio show host or what have you, or something. They'll leave newspapers around, and I guess we need to leave certain things like race and politics and religion out of the workplace, should we not?
Without a doubt. You don't want to offend any of your fellow employer or coworkers.
Sure.
You never know when somebody's beliefs are very, very strong.
Right.
And even though you didn't mean to do it, it came off the wrong way. And then to Yolanda's point, that team fit just went out the door. So then you have individuals that are now coming to the human resource department saying, hey, I can't work with this guy anymore because he believes a certain way, or he does this that is really, it's opposite of my beliefs. So I agree 100%. You should definitely leave it out of the workforce.
And then even the thing about manners whether it's the table being paid for by the company and how one conducts oneself, that says a lot. Even a sort of a mixer, if you will, sort of after hours get acquainted orientation.
Right.
If that person is getting all the shrimps on a stick, okay, then that doesn't bode well for that person, because they're, I call it the needy and the greedy.
Yeah. Having your mind on the big picture for instance, if you're at a networking event,
Sure.
You're not there for the free food and the alcohol. You're there as a representation of the company that you're there for. So when you're out and about, if you're drinking, you could put yourself into, number one, liability for the company for that image, but also it's not the brand that company wants you to represent them as.
Right. And people should always keep in mind, I think, about first impressions.
Thank you.
First impressions are everything. And we talked about that earlier. I think we cannot say it enough. First impressions of an email address that maybe is set up just for employers, just to communicate with employers.
Yeah.
One of those, disposable or rechargeable cell phone accounts that just is for employers if you can afford it, because that makes a difference, does it not?
It does make a difference. I mean, first impression, a person will make up their mind about you within the first 10, 15 seconds, not only visually, but also on paper. And so it's important for that individual to convey a very professional presence on paper or in person. So the email address, the writing on the resume or the cover letter, the phone message that they leave for an individual, all important key things.
Right. Another thing I wanted to talk about is, in a couple of minutes we have left, is after a while America is going to have some neck problems. And I guess, Shannon, if you see somebody in the warehouse that's supposed to be filling an order, let's say they hurry up and fill the order, but they have their neck down and they're in this position here, that means they're probably texting or it goes on and on. You see it all over.
Right.
And instead of being upright and trying to fill the orders and being in an active kind of situation.
Sure. To the level at our company that's a challenge. We have a no texting and cell phones within the warehouse for that very reason. We don't want to have, there's too much risk of products falling on them. So from that standpoint, we just have a company policy, so it's very clear. But yeah, absolutely. I think that with companies today, that definitely could be a problem.
Right. With all of that we've talked about today, and I do appreciate both of you coming on, it begs the question, why is it so difficult to maintain and retain one's consistent performance and position? I know that's a sort of a big ambiguous question, if you will, but it seems so easy to do, yet it's pretty difficult to do. But you have to, you talked about it earlier, you say you love coming to work and you're passionate. You say that you look forward to coming to work every day. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
If you're not in it for the long haul to improve and to grow the company, then maybe you need to look elsewhere. Okay. Anything else that you'd like to share that I may have left off but was afraid to ask or something like that?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
And the only thing I can say is that it's very important that an individual consider their professional behavior and understand that in the workplace, employers are looking for them to respect others, which is extremely important today.
Right. And so in the break room, they should play RESP. I'm sorry. No, I mean, respect begets respect.
Absolutely.
Mutual respect at all times. And I think you pointed out a good thing, that at the company function, one should not be get so inebriated that they forget to keep their hands to themselves, keep their voice down, and not go ballistic, so to speak.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's good to have a fun environment, but it's never fun when you've got challenges that come up because of poor behaviors.
Right. Extreme behavior. We'd like to thank Yolanda Lavelle Williams, Executive Director for Economic Development at HCC. We thank you for coming on our show today. Shannon Evans, Apex Office Products and Furniture. Okay. We'd like to thank you also for coming on our show today and sharing this information. Here's hoping that you out there in the viewing audience will tell somebody about the show, because this is a good series. It's the 12th in a series of Job Hunting 101. And we do thank you for tuning in today. And go ahead and have yourselves a very productive day. Thanks for tuning in.
The Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance and WorkNet Pinellas offer workforce solutions designed to improve your business.
I've really valued my relationship with WorkNet Pinellas and have been instrumental in keeping us informed with new educational trends.
We've really seen our employees grow in their own personal development. It has not only exceeded Power Design's expectations, but our employees' expectations as well.
To learn more about our no-cost programs and services, visit workforcetampa.com or worknetpinellas.org.
Change your life. Learn TV and internet video production skills at TBCN in Tampa. Become a skilled video producer quickly and inexpensively. Learn audio, editing, lighting, and camera basics. Produce multi-camera videos for TV, the internet, business, or pleasure.
Welcome to my live call-in show on Tampa Bay Community Network. You too can learn to produce and star in your own video programming, or you can have TBCN staff do it for you.
Call TBCN at 813-977-5200 today and change your life. Visit our website at tbcn.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.